Take your event to the next level with Crossroads TV. Professional audio and video production, multi-camera live streaming, audio system for your panels and entertainment, plus stunning video screen production on LED walls. High quality, seamless production, tailored to your needs. Let us bring your vision to life. Contact us today.
Regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available on the table near the entrance or online on the city's website. Consent agenda items are routine items which are voted on in one motion and vote. Unfinished or new business items are voted on separately. Councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments, followed by citizens who must speak at the podium and identify themselves. Citizens will be allowed to speak one time per agenda item for up to 3 minutes. Citizens who do not wish to speak on a topic that does not, citizens who wish to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have the opportunity to do so during the public comment section of the agenda for up to 3 minutes. So first, let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, next up, disclosure of conflict of interest. Does any councilors have any conflict of interest of any of the votes that they will take this evening? Seeing none, let us move on tonight. We have a couple of presentations for you. First tonight, we're going to the MD3 report presenting by Dr. Pei. You're more than welcome to come up, sir. Thank you. Dr. Pei, can I have another one for Councilor Klepak here? You just walked down, so thank you very much, sir. No, he's not. That's empty at this moment.
I have one more we want to fight over it. If anybody's really interested.
So, man.
Okay. How much time are you allowing me so I honor a time constraint?
How much time do you need?
20 minutes?
Okay,
Wow.
that's what we're
That was
doing.
very generous.
That's what we're doing.
Now I have to make sure I keep under it. Okay. So thank you for this time. I'm Tim Pei. I'm an emergency physician primarily at Augusta in Maine General, or Waterville at Maine General. That's kind of my core job. So that takes about 3/4 of what I do. The other quarter of what I do is EMS. And this project is a portion of that part of my work. I'm also the medical director for Waterville Fire, for Augusta Fire, for many other EMS agencies, and I'm the regional medical director, along with another physician, for one of 4 regions in EMS in Maine. So a lot of EMS hats, but today I'm going to be talking specifically about MD3. So this, and thank you for having it on the screen, that helps with handouts, appreciate that. Tonight, the first thing to do is tell you just a little bit broadly what this is. So MD3 is an EMS physician team. So it's either emergency medicine or critical care trained physicians who are dedicating some of their time to respond out of the hospital into the field to assist with fire and EMS personnel at a level of the physician. This is common in other parts of the world. It's common in other cities which have higher density populations. Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles. This would be a common event. Not so common in the state of Maine or in northern New England. So we primarily focus on the most critically ill and injured. That would be the bulk of our responses, but we also have the ability to treat and release, which is not an ability of standard EMS. Standard EMS really has to bring the patient, offer to transport to the hospital. The patient can refuse that, but their scope of practice is to stabilize and transport until a physician or another medical staff sees the patient. Today I'm going to talk primarily, and you can go to the next slide there if that's okay. This is just a summary of this, which just gives me a little paragraph form if you're looking at your handout. The next part, I'm going to talk about the mortality benefit of our team. So in medicine, I am responsible for being sure that any decision I make is evidence-based and it improves your mortality or morbidity, right? I need to make you better. And I have to have evidence that's showing every decision I make does make people better. So this program is held to the same standard. I need to have evidence that the return on the investment that we're asking for is worth it, right? So you're really looking at this as a financial decision. So keep in the back of your minds, we initially thought this program cost $350,000 a year. We now know after a year it costs closer to $250,000 a year. So you're thinking about a budget line of $250,000 a year throughout the entire county. Okay, that's not put on the Waterville city budget, right? That is spread out amongst all the towns in Kennebec County. But that's the decision that I'm critically assessing with this presentation, okay? So evidence-based, we're gonna talk about what we did over the last year, and we're gonna talk about sustainability. How do we fund a program like this? Should we fund a program like this, okay? So we respond mostly, and I'm on slide 3 or 4. Yes, perfect, thank you. We do mass casualty incidents in addition to the most critically ill and injured. So the Lewiston shooting would be a perfect example of a physician response. You'd want a physician on a scene like that, both for triage, for treating patients. Interestingly, New York City has the best published evidence on mass casualty events and physician responding. And they bring a physician to any mass casualty that happens in that city. That's 100 times a year. I mean, when's the last time in Maine that we had a mass casualty other than Lewiston? It was Bangor car crash. It was Lewiston again on that Halloween incident. Over 5-10 years, maybe 3, right? So very different in big cities. But what a physician can do is, yes, help with the most critically ill, but more importantly, the not so critically ill, we can treat and release on scene. So I can offload my emergency department by placing a physician on scene, right? So instead of a school bus of very mildly ill kids or injured kids that bump into a telephone pole, nobody's really hurt, but you have to transport 30 children to an ER and overwhelm me. So I just came out of my ED. I'm glad nobody here is at the Augusta ED right now because I just left there. It is a dumpster fire, right? So I wish I had more handouts, but I was a little busy. I did get notice that I should have more, but if we put a non-ill 30 kids on that ED right now, we would be paralyzed, right? So having this asset, although it's not used very often, is highly, highly valuable. Thankfully, we don't need it very often. Treat and release is the other part that I do. So again, we talked about that. It doesn't happen very often. I'll show you the numbers. I thought it was going to happen more, but again, this is the critical assessment of this program. When we look at data, what did we do that had evidence that had an impact? What didn't that we thought might? So we're going to look at all that. We're going to open the hood, kick the tires, have everybody critically assess it. Education of EMS providers was a win that I didn't predict. and I'll show you the numbers of this. This probably is arguably our best value as far as a return, is the impact we have on education, and I'll explain more about that. Wonderful surprise. So the first part here, this slide is what I put up at Grand Rounds at Maine General when I'm presenting this to physicians. So this is my best evidence. This is a meta-analysis of 14 different studies. This is 126,000 patients in all of these studies combined. It's looking at comparing one group, which is a paramedic-led resuscitation of cardiac arrest. The other group is physician-led cardiac arrest resuscitation, and seeing if a paramedic leads it versus a physician, is there any difference, right? So all our paramedics and our EMTs have protocols that physicians write. So if we write those protocols, how could it be any different? So we asked the question, we looked at the study, and when you look at this, what we see is that survival to discharge, the number at the bottom there, it says 15.1% if a physician leads it, 8.4% if a paramedic leads it, on-scene physician on hands. So this evidence would suggest that if you insert a physician, your chances of surviving that cardiac arrest is almost doubled. Now, as a medical director, I'm primarily a teacher. And I look at that and I personally think that's a failure on my part as a teacher. Why is that gap wide? Why can't I teach to close that gap? So if I spend all this time as an EMS physician, yes, I can drop myself on there, but I really need to be teaching so that my paramedic skill level, knowledge base, ability to save lives on those resuscitations closes that gap. And I see that as a challenge and something that I hope this program can do, right? But I can't ignore the data, right? So I had 12 years of training before I was released as a physician. My paramedics have 1 to 2 to 2.5 to 3 years of training. It's not intellect, it's just how much time training you have that gives you that skill set and that mortality benefit, in my opinion. Please.
Okay,
Yeah.
So this meta-analysis was across the entire United States? Or
Great question. Yeah, thank you. So the question was for the microphone, was this just the United States or where were all these studies from? It's across the world. So this is New Zealand, this is Japan. The bulk of these were actually Japan for whatever reason, but it covered Britain, where else? Germany, it was all over, and including the US, so worldwide. In a study, the more different environments that you pull from, the stronger your evidence, right? You don't want it in one site, right? So the more countries involved, the better. Great question. And please, by the way, interrupt me, because I need to know where you're at and what questions you're thinking, so it's not rude. It actually helps me if you interrupt, so I'll force that by pausing. Any other questions?
Still have 20 minutes.
Yes, I agree. And I'm 9 minutes. Any questions from behind me? No, I'll move on. Okay. Next slide here is actually, my next question would be, that's great on the meta-analysis, but what are you doing in the last year, right? How many lives have you saved, right? Would be a hard question. It's a little difficult for me to tell you how many we've saved because I don't have the same academic power that a study like this has, but I can tell you that I was a part of a team from Waterville Fire. Every member that responded got this same citation of award, by the way. It wasn't just the doc, so we all enjoy this reward of this save, but this is a patient that survived to discharge and mentation intact with interventions from the physician responding and the entire team there, okay? But what's key on this is when this happened, that intervention is now a part of everybody's knowledge base, right, that was involved here. We teach this. It's now a normal event, right? It's part of the protocols. It's not something that just you get to have that intervention just because a physician is there. And that's the art of shrinking that gap, right, is trying to get this where it's teach, teach, teach. It's great that a doc can save a life, but it's even more important if they save the life and then spread that knowledge base across. Questions on that? Moving on.
Yeah,
please.
I have a question.
I love it.
So, how many people with Waterville emergency response were involved in this kind of response and train, as you're describing it, a training experience?
On training or on that actual response?
Well, the way you were couching it was that in the response is a learning experience, right? Is that
yes? So the way this would work, in that response, it would have been in Waterville's terms, strike a box. It's a station response. So everybody responds to this type of a medical emergency.
I see.
How many would that be on this call?
It was over a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible, right? So, and that's call pool in addition to on duty for this type of event. It's then immediately afterwards, we often will do a hot wash. I don't remember if we did I think we did a hot wash after this immediately. And that means the patient's loaded, stabilized, we get them to the ER, then we clean up our gear, restock, and we huddle. And we say, what went well, what could have gone better, right? So you do an immediate debrief so that you capture any learning then. Then, almost every month, we have case review. And we invite Fairfield Benton, we invite Waterville Fire, we invite Winslow. We all come together on duty, and we talk about cases like this, amongst others. We bring up the write-up, we go through all the details. What was the intervention that the doc did, right? And how can we, is that something we can all do? How do we learn from that? When do we do it? When do we not do it? And we do that over and over as often as we can.
And so how many cases in a year?
For cardiac arrest?
Sure.
Great question. So it looks, I gave us credit for 17, meaning we did direct care as physicians. We respond to far more than that we may not be involved in. We may watch and say there's nothing for us to do. We may get canceled, but 17 when we're directly involved. And I'll give you more data as we go on when were we the first there, and it's a great question, so keep asking them. Next. So this one would be a meta-analysis, 54,000 patients, 22 different studies on major unstable trauma, severe trauma. So this is motor vehicle crashes where you're internally bleeding, you have a low blood pressure. It's a life-threatening type event is what we're looking at. Gunshot wounds would be involved in this, stabbings, other types of falls. And we looked at when you add a physician to that, does it, like cardiac arrest, change the outcomes? And the interesting thing on this is, yes, you have a statistically significant improvement in mortality if you add a physician, but only if it's coupled with a helicopter, right? And the reason is because I'm not a trauma surgeon, I'm not a trauma team, I'm just an EMS physician. These types of patients, they need a trauma OR, right, to save their life, right? So if I can get there quickly, i.e. a helicopter, then my impact is statistically significant. If you take the helicopter away, it trends towards mortality benefit. That's not good enough. You need evidence-based, like you need statistically significant. So yes, we make an impact, but as long as they're a helicopter. So what does that mean operationally? I never replace life flight. I need life flight coming on these types of accidents, right? I will augment, I will start the level of care, but I will hand it off to life flight, because that's how you get to the operating room and a trauma center operating room. So what I want you to take home from this is we critically assess our impact, right? We know when we make an impact, we know when we don't. We're very cautious that we're not just there to be there, right? We need to show ourselves that we have an evidence-based impact. Questions on that? So your questions on cardiac arrest, if you go here, I looked at how many times was MD3 the first advanced life support on scene, meaning first paramedic level or above. This really doesn't matter in a city like Waterville. You drop paramedics on these calls easily. Same in Augusta. We just drop paramedics on these calls. It's easy to get to. But China, Rome, where I live, Sydney, Smithfield, Whitefield, that's where this really matters, where I'm on the road in a fly car and 10 different times my docs were the first advanced level on scene on a car, and half of those were cardiac arrest. So when you look at what's the strongest evidence of us, it's cardiac arrest, of our impact on saving lives, and 5 out of 10, it was cardiac arrest. So even though it's just one vehicle wandering around the county, it seems that we can be in the right place at the right time. I was very happy to see that. Other parts, the quick slides here is why did we pick the times that we're on duty? We just looked at the evidence of when calls happened, and we concentrated our limited budget of time where we would have the most impact on volume of 911 calls. So you can just see a spread of that. Scope of practice, this is a very technical slide here. If you're medically literate and this is what you're interested in, these are the procedures I can do. Perimortem C-section, pericardiocentesis, thoracotomy. These are pretty dramatic procedures that are physician scope of practice that are not life flight, not paramedic scope. Thankfully, very, very rarely needed, okay? But when they are needed, that's the difference between living and not. And then this next slide is the right down to the details of how many hours on call, how many 911 responses, how many interfacility transports. Interfacility transports means the patient was so sick they couldn't be cared for completely at Maine General or inland. They needed to move to a tertiary care, Central Maine, Bangor, Portland, right? And And 12, roughly once a month, life flight is not available. We can't put a team together, or the patient's so ill they need physician level, right? So more often than I anticipated, to be honest. And then the big thing that I'm most proud of, 748 students taught in a year. That is dramatic. And that's an EMS physician level teaching. That's on scene, that's lectures, that's case-based. I think it's wonderful. You really need to ask the folks that are receiving that education to be critically assessing whether we really think we're as good at teaching as we think we would like to think ourselves. 232 hours of quality assurance. That's me directly overseeing, either by chart review, or that's making sure that the care being provided is the care that should be provided, right? It's also tied directly to teaching. So that's a very constructive process, not a disciplinary or it's not intended to be. Next, where we teach, you can see on this next spread, it's everywhere from EMT vocational high school students at Mid-Maine Technical Center all the way to physicians. We're teaching in all different environments. So, and then what it looks like, you can see some slides of us in action. Some of these are at Augusta, some of these are at Health Reach, some of these are at Fairfield Benton. This picture on the top right there is a hot wash after a cardiac arrest in Fairfield. That's what it looks like. We literally come back, we restock our bags, find some whiteboard, and we just write out what went well, what could have gone better. We try to enforce, when people do things right, you really want to celebrate it, right? So they know it's the right thing to do, right? But you also want to talk about when things could have gone a little better. You lean in on that and you be brave and you have constructive feedback, right? This is high stakes. Medicine is not flipping burgers, right? We really need to have high standards. Not that flipping burgers is not important, because I love a good burger. Highlighting cases. This is just another couple bullets of some of the highlight cases for us. The big ones for me early on in this year was something called, this is a mouthful, so put your seatbelt on, non-convulsive status epilepticus. So what the heck is that? That's the type of seizure, status epilepticus, that keeps going and takes your life if you don't stop it. We're well trained in EMS to do it, but there's this subtle version of it called non-epileptic. That means it's hiding from you. You're not shaking and convulsing, but your brain is still at risk of death. And picking up on that type of seizure is very difficult. And I didn't realize we weren't teaching it until we had 3 cases of it. And that means the physician comes, the paramedics did an excellent job in all 3 cases. They stopped the convulsions with the medicine. We came on, did a secondary assessment of the patient, and could see the very subtle signs of ongoing seizure. Gave the same medicine but at increased dosing, and then taught it, right on scene. Look, this is still seizing. Can you see it, right? And then I have seasoned medics that, you know, this is a wonderful moment, right? Like, thank you, I get it now, right? You know, and then for me, I think, I need to teach this, right? I thought, yeah, great, okay, now it's case review, right? So, 2 of those kids were 2 years old, right? So, not just adults this is happening to, so high impact in my mind. And then types of calls, this goes directly to your question. This is just my outline of all the different kind of high impact cases. Everything from keeping hospice patients at home so they don't have to come to the hospital. I've definitely emptied a hospice patient out of the ambulance because I got there a little late, brought them back into their home, released the ambulance, kept them in their home, continued their care on site, because that's what they wanted, right? We've had patients with home ventilators, meaning they're working full-time with a ventilator, their battery fails, now they can't breathe because they're dependent on the ventilator. We have a ventilator, so we come in, put the ventilator on, adjust it to them, drive them home to their backup ventilator. They don't have to come to the ER, come to the CCU room, take up an ICU bed. The poor patient, all they needed was a battery, right? You know, and we can bridge them home and save the ER, save them. Lots of examples, 5 gunshot wounds. Here's your 17 cardiac arrests. Many examples here. These are cases, it's not that paramedics cannot and not do an excellent job with these. This is not, and I really need to be careful that that's not how this is interpreted. But we can bring that level of what they get at the ER and bring it earlier. It's essentially bringing the ER to that patient as opposed to rushing them there. Bring that advanced scope and then teach to try to close that gap as much as we possibly can. The whole time I'm doing a needs assessment on my paramedics. Do they have the skills that they need to treat these patients that we're seeing together? If they don't, can I teach them up to that? Can I expand their scope? Right? And that's the art of EMS physician. Bring your team up closer to what you can do. And then where we've been, I'm right at 20 minutes. This is, you can see, find Waterville, that's where you get a lot of our time because you have a lot of population here, right? The argument is, Is that number high impact, or is it more impact out in Clinton or Albion, right? Or Wayne, when you're that much farther? Lower numbers, but you're that much farther from the ER, right? So it's hard to tell here where the highest impact in my mind is. Is it volume or is it distance, right? But that's the spread of where we've been in a year. There are some weak spots here. The western part of this county is a little lonely. Like that, we're not out there enough, right? So that's a critical assessment for me. Out in the kind of Winthrop area and their towns, we need to get out there more. For whatever reason, we're not spending as much time out there as we are on the eastern part. So we're always critically assessing how we're doing. You can see a spread of our docks here. I'm going to move quickly because I'm out of time. We only covered 74% of our shifts. That's a critical assessment. Why aren't you covering the goal of 100? I will tell you the first 6 months I had 3 physicians only. I have 8 now. So I hope those numbers improve, but that's a critical assessment. We tried to get to 12 hours per shift. We averaged at 10. That needs to be looked at. Why are we not getting our goals, right? So we're always critically assessing ourselves. And then money. I'm glad that it only costs closer to $250,000 instead of $350,000. That's a win. I'm glad for that. We have earned some grants. We've been denied from more, but we try to get revenue in, i.e. grants to help offset the cost to the county. But we are asking for full general funding. Questions? Sorry to rip through that at the end, but I want to honor you.
That was good. Thank you. Any questions from the council?
Can I just, what's my ask,
Yeah.
right? I mean, just to straight
Sure,
up.
yeah.
So you all are the constituents of the budget committee. The budget committee now has to decide what lines in the budget they vote for and what they don't. So you need to look at this and decide, is this return, this critical assessment of this program worth the investment? And that's a decision, obviously, I think it is. And I do a full-throated attempt at this, but I also try to be non-biased and critical of it. So you can see our weaknesses, see our strengths. But that's really the ask to make that decision. And I trust you. The tax dollar is precious. So, and this is quite a headwind that we're up against. So I just want you to critically assess it and make a well-informed decision.
So just to clarify, we're talking about Kennebec County budget?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Kennebec County budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our individual county tax that we all pay, right? So for me, at $350,000, would have been $8 a year out of Rome. It averaged somewhere between $3 to $4, right? But the property in Rome is just priced a little higher, it seems. So that was what I was looking at as a Rome resident to pay my share of this program, $8. With $250 instead of $350, that $8 drops by a third-ish, right? So it's a little less for me.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of cost that I assess as an individual taxpayer. And is that worth it?
So at $350,000, how many physician hours are we actually talking about?
You got 1,891. What you got was roughly 10 hours a day, on average 4 to 5 hours a week is how to think about it, on call. And how many calls was that? If you look at 211, it was roughly 1 to 2 responses per day is what you were getting out of that. Not counting the teaching, not counting the phone calls, not counting the quality assurance that was happening around those actual responses. So when we're on, we are being as busy as we possibly can to earn that, investment, right?
Yeah. And relative to the, I mean, I know physicians are not paid hourly, but,
Right.
If you can break that hourly rate down if you want,
Yeah.
that's actually a pretty good deal in terms of, because you're talking about, I don't know, maybe $150 an hour or something like that, $120 an hour.
We pay $75 an hour to our
Yeah.
physicians. In EMS money, that's a tremendous investment, okay? So you could get 2 to 3 paramedics out of that. When I take that shift, just for disclosure, I think it's fair to be disclosed, it's a 70% pay cut for me from
Yeah.
what I just got off of, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would argue, I think my impact, when you put the teaching into it, as opposed to direct patient
Yeah.
impact, is pretty dramatic for my time, as far as I assess that, of what I'm gonna do with my own time. I think it's a phenomenal deal, right? I think you're getting this level of physician involvement at a song, right? but I'm not, I'm biased. But it's a fair question, right?
Yeah.
You are getting a good deal on dock time.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes.
Just the status of this program, is this going to be reviewed by the county? Is this what you're telling us? Or like?
Yeah, we live or
what's-
die on the budget committee. So we meet
Yeah,
in a little
okay,
bit, right?
okay.
And then we're asking for full funding,
Right,
which is $250,000.
Right.
I did get a grant for $236,000. That was from the Maine Recovery Council.
Yeah, okay.
The problem on that grant is we were the second round of awardees. The first round, at the time, the last article that I read on that, it was a year after they were notified that they got the award, and there was a group of them that had not seen a contract or a check, right? And so I am going to be done with the budget committee process before I predict I'll see any of that money. So when it's coming. So it's there and it'll help us, but the budget committee has to make a decision on full funding before, right? Or at least we have to have a discussion of how to make that decision, because yes, there's more revenue coming in if you think of a grant as revenue, but if you live or die on grants, it's a pretty non-sustainable funding plan, as you, I'm sure, know much better than me.
We
But I'm
learned
proud
that
of
this
getting it.
week.
If you could help me just
Yeah.
understand, so MD3 is a program or a subset of the Kennebec County Emergency Management
Yes.
Agency, and so the 250, 350, whatever that we're talking about, that goes to the MD3 program within the Kennebec County Emergency Management Agency.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
And so you had this list of grants, and there's a grant writer somewhere that's whatever that person works for them.
No.
Who is that? Is that you? Who's writing these grants?
Yeah. And I'm not great at it if you look at my record. Learning. I'm a quick learner, but whew.
Yeah.
Yes. This is, do not mistake that this is blood, sweat, tears, paperclip, and duct tape, right? It'll get better as we get better investment, but this is, you're buying a lot of, I donate, if I'm on for 12 hours on this, then I will be busy for 12 hours. I'm not going to waste your time or your money, right? So I'm writing grants, I'm doing quality assurance, I'm doing this data. This is 2 hours a day. To get those numbers, it looks great and slick. That is a tremendous amount of work to give you those numbers accurately, that I feel is accurate. I have to plug every piece of every step that we do and then critically assess it. And I'm just I'm summarizing a broader spreadsheet of data that I gather, right? Because I don't take this investment lightly, just to be. And I need to feel okay about coming up here and asking for that kind of money from a county that's not. This is not like other states in the country that invest tremendously into EMS. Maine is not that wealthy as other places. So we have to be careful with that investment.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Pei. I appreciate it. All right. Next, we have one other presentation, and it's the review of our financial report for fiscal year 2025, quarter number 2. Christina, AKA my favorite report, for those of you.
It's on. Good evening.
Good evening.
Just read from the memo here. The attached financial reports provide the second quarter account positions for the general fund, outstanding debt service, bond borrowing, project lists, TIF funds, investments, checking accounts, and trust and bequeath funds. This memo provides a summary of the accounts and the city's overall financial position for the 2025 fiscal year. 2 departments significantly passed the 50% mark for the midway point. Within were Parks and Rec and the Information Technology. Parks and Rec used a large majority of the maintenance account money during the summer months, mostly for the municipal pool, which is very common within their budget. These expenses should level off during the next 6 months. The IT department experiences a comparable situation with the payment of software contracts earlier during the year, which distorts the figures for the midway budget analysis. The city's revenue is in a strong position at the end of December. EMS revenues are still below the projected amounts by over 200,000, but we had discussed that at the last quarter review, and that a lot of times during, unfortunately, but during the winter months, with some of the colds and illnesses that go around, the call volume seems to go up. So we'll continue to watch it, and we'll cross-check it against the submitted claim reports to make sure if there's any potential budget shortfall that we can know that before we get into the final end of the year. So next quarter, we really will need to analyze a little bit more to make sure we're much closer to those targeted amounts. The city's interest rate on the checking balances have dropped by 0.5 point and 1/3 of a point during the last 6 months. They actually dropped another 1/4 of a point in December that I hadn't picked up on. We will meet the revenue projections in this category, I believe, even with the projected increase. But what that will do is it will cut into the money that we were able to utilize last year for capital projects. I was hoping that that money would be continually targeted for capital projects and not utilized for budget, because what it does is if you have a bad year, so long as you meet what's in the budget, you can put off capital projects. But if you have a good year, you're able to address that without putting it on the taxpayers, because you have a different funding source.
And 0.5% represents how much money?
Well, a half a percent, I'm going to have to see how we
Ballpark.
progress along. Well, it all depends on what balance is in our accounts. So if we have a strong tax balance that people have paid ahead of time and our cash position is good, it's a lot. Different than if you have a very sluggish cash coming in your account. So total last year, I think we ended up with around 600,000. From that, I would say we may lose 55, 60,000 over the course of the year if they stay steady for the remaining 6 months. The unfortunate part on the other end was because we had projected 120, it was asked to increase. I believe it was increased to 180, then it was increased again to 250, and I'm not sure if it bottomed out at 250 or 280 to put into the budget and to be utilized as a regular revenue. So you lost probably $100,000 on that side of the equation besides what you lose on the interest, which can be a significant in the capital budget piece. So we will keep watch on that and give a better reporting of how much we've taken in and what becomes available. We're going to be looking at that. I've spoken with Brian. Probably next week with the TIF funding, we'll be looking at the capital requests and what might be available for funding in that manner, and bring that before in the budget process to the whole council. So I don't know if anybody on the council has any other information that they want on these financial reports. No questions? And I'll just add, I think right now the budget process has been going pretty good. As of today, we've met with, I believe it's at least 12 of the department budget reviews. We have a few more tomorrow, and then the outside accessory ones such as debt service, third parties, TIF revenues, and regular revenues next week. And I think that'll complete our first pass through all of the accounts at least once in the meetings with the city manager. So hopefully we'll be
All
on
right.
track.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our city manager report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First up, the customer service area in City Hall is currently undergoing renovation, so customer service has been moved to the Roy Conference Room this past week. We're anticipating at least 6 weeks to complete the work, so Residents and customers are advised to please visit the Roy Conference Room for any of those services for about the next 6 weeks. We'll give you updates along the way, obviously. And of course, the new design, the intended purpose is to better improve customer flow and traffic in the area, as well as employee security. So we're looking forward to that project being done. Staff is hard at work. Thank you for all of your time and efforts there, particularly the two ladies sitting next to me. They've spent a lot of time helping to coordinate this project, so thank you guys. The Impact Task Force that's on the agenda tonight, we've had a pretty good response from individuals interested in serving. We still do have 3 available slots on the committee open, 1 in the business leaders category, 1 seat in the lived experience category, and 1 in the social service category. So if you are interested in serving on this committee, please fill out the application on the city's website, or you can contact the administration department and we will help set you up and get along the way. So we'll have that on the agenda later tonight for approval. We also have a vacancy in the Kennebec Water District Board of Trustees for the unexpired term. Expiring in 2026. We'll be holding a similar process. If you are interested in serving on the Water District Board of Trustees, it will be a council appointment. But please get in touch with us if you have interest, and we'll get you to the appropriate documents there also. So again, that's Kennebec Water District Board of Trustees to finish the unexpired term ending in 2026. As Christina mentioned, we are working through the city budget, meeting with department heads. We'll be putting together the budget obviously after that and have it as mandated by the city charter to the council in late March. My next city manager's open office hours will be February 10th, 3 to 5 p.m. here at the City Hall Annex. Of course, all Waterville residents, local business owners are welcome and encouraged to attend to share their thoughts, views, concerns, complaints, or anything else they'd like to share with me. So look forward to that. Just some reminders, City Hall hours are now Monday to Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Things continue to go pretty well and pretty smoothly there, but just a reminder. We are, of course, always looking for volunteers with our fire department to staff the city's warming shelter in the event of weather emergencies. If you are interested in volunteering, please reach out to the fire department, Teresa Crawford, or city administration, and we will set you up with that. Also, of course, a reminder of our city mass notification system, waterville-me.myfreealerts.com. I also want to remind everyone that we do have a special election coming up for Ward 5, the Ward 5 council seat. It's going to be March 11th, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. here at the City Hall Annex. So please get out and vote. I do believe, Patty, it's a contested election at this point also. Is that correct?
That is correct. There are
Okay.
2 candidates that have qualified to be on the ballot. Absentee ballots will be available starting next week, so anyone interested that is a Ward 5 resident can reach out and request an absentee ballot. Voting will be held here from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on March 11th.
Thank you. And lastly, I just want to acknowledge, since my announcement last week, the many calls and emails I've received, the kind comments, and all of the other thoughts you've expressed to me. I appreciate it. And I'll have more to say, obviously, on all of that as we get closer to May. But I just want to say thank you for all of your comments. There have been a lot of them. And we still have a lot of work to do here. I'm here for the next 3 months, and we're not slowing down until the absolute end. But thank you for all of your comments and well wishes. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to council comments or committee reports. Any councilors have any comments or committee reports they would like to provide at this time? Seeing none, I will turn it over to our youth council. Give us an update as to what we're doing. If you guys want to get ahead and just introduce yourselves again. And
I'm Penny Graham with the Youth Council, and for an activity summary, over our last few meetings, we've formalized the idea of co-hosting a job fair. We're going to be working with the Alfond Youth Center, and the fair is going to include representatives from both ordinary businesses and, as our contribution, volunteer organizations. The fair was already intending to target young people, but the Waterville Youth Council has talked about how important youth volunteering is, and we're also planning on creating a Waterville Youth Council Instagram account, and we'd use that to post both updates of our work and create some short-form educational videos on city government. Okay.
Sorry. This. I'm Joshua Schmazel of the Waterville Youth Council. All of us, the Youth Council, would also like to extend a special thanks to Brian Kenrath, who unfortunately will soon be leaving our city's government. He has done much for our city, moving it forward in an innovative and progressive manner. As someone who has always known him through a couple of city groups, he has always taken the reins of leadership when needed and has always respected the people working with him. We at the Waterville Youth Council bid farewell to this highly competent professional and wish him the best in all of his future endeavors.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Councilor Green?
Yeah, I have a question about the job fair, and that is, will there be any municipal representatives there about what it's like to work for the city?
There potentially could be. We will work on that.
Okay.
It sounds like a real opportunity. As we've talked about, municipal government needs a new generation to step in and step up into these roles. So that could be a prime opportunity for us to look at.
Okay, great.
All right. Any public, we're all done with council comments. Everybody's getting good tonight? Thank you. Any public comments this evening? Anyone that wishes to speak? Nancy?
Excuse me. I'm Nancy Sanford from Ward 1. And a couple of things. At the last city council meeting, if I'm understanding correctly, the emergency shelter in Waterville by the city would not go into effect unless the governor declared an emergency. And that would not happen apparently until it's 20 below zero. I would like to ask the powers that be to reconsider that. I know that we have help from the Lighthouse and the Mid-Main Homeless Shelter in this area. I have not had a conversation with those folks to see if they feel as though they need help. But what I do notice is that other towns do open shelters when it's not gotten to that level, most notably Augusta. And so that's that. And Brian, as I said in my voicemail to you, I am not happy that you're leaving. I think that you've shown a lot of energy, a lot of respect for all Waterville residents, and care for them no matter their socioeconomic level or living situation. And you're smart, and you listen, and I appreciate that a lot. And so to the folks that will be hiring our next one, please get somebody a lot like Brian.
Anyone else? Anyone online, Patty? Okay. Anyone else wish to speak? Any public comments this evening? All right, seeing none, can I get a motion, please, to entertain the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you very much. Can I get a motion to read by title only?
I'll move to read by title only.
Second.
All those in favor? Wonderful. All right, moving on to old business, Order 33-2025.
Authorization to accept grant funds for recreational trail program, Maine Department of Conservation.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion with the second reading of this? Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito? Yes. Counselor Klepak?
Yep.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Finch?
Yes.
Counselor Harard.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. Moving on to ordinance 37, 2025.
Amend the zoning ordinance, decrease rural residential front setback requirement.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion with the second reading of this one? Seeing none. Patty, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly.
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito. Yes. Counselor Klepak.
Yep.
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Finch.
Yes.
Counselor Harard.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to ordinance 38, 2025.
Amend the zoning map 1 St. Angela's Way.
Move to adopt.
All right, any comments, concerns with the second reading of this one? Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please, Patty?
Counselor Gilly.
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito. Yes. Counselor Klepak.
Yes.
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Finch.
Yes.
Counselor Harard.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to order 39, 2025.
Accept 2024 Justice Assistance Grant.
Move to adopt.
Any discussion with the second reading of this particular one? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly.
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito. Yes. Counselor Klepak.
Yes.
Counselor Green.
Yes.
Counselor Finch.
Yes.
Counselor Harard.
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to resolution 42, 2025.
Authorize the renewal of a special amusement permit to Italia, Erica Savage, and Jennifer Bergeron, doing business as Lion's Den Tavern.
Move to adopt.
Any discussion?
Is anyone from
Seeing
Lions in
none,
here?
all those in favor? Thank you very much. Moving on to resolution 43, 2025.
Support for submitting the draft comprehensive plan to the state for review.
Move to adopt.
Okay. We have in our presence this evening the voluntold chair of the Comprehensive Plan Committee, Scott Beal. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very good. Love being here.
Why don't you just give us a quick overview of where we started, where you came in, and where we are today, and what we're doing, like how we're at. Like,
Okay.
that'd probably be pretty good.
The Comprehensive Plan Review Commission, or committee, was started a couple of years ago. It's been over 2 years. Claude Franke was the initial chairman, and I believe there were several city council members that participated in that effort. And they started with the previous comprehensive plan. The one that was done 10 years ago had a tremendous amount of work put into it, and it was a very good document to start from. So they took that document and began working it, and it became apparent that we needed some feedback from the community. So we put together, over the course of about 6 months, a survey, and we ran the survey basically last summer. And we had 500 responses, and we incorporated those, we tabulated those responses, and I say we, most of this work was done by Ann back there and Joe. So we tabulated the results and tried to use that information to prepare the final updates for the comprehensive plan. We had a number of meetings over this period. We got a lot of feedback from the public. We had 2 public review sessions of the survey results, and we again incorporated those comments. And I think that the comprehensive plan is a pretty good representation of the feedback that we got through the survey and through the public sessions. The document has been available on the website for review, and we believe it's in very good shape, and we look forward to having some input from the city council and the state. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Councilor Green?
I'm just wondering if it's possible to summarize the kind of feedback that was received. I mean, I know 500 comments, but, you know.
I can summarize it from my biased opinion, so please bear with me. We had a lot of interest in housing. That was a big concern, and at the time, we felt that that was important. And I'm going to turn around. Ann, do you recall any feedback from the survey or that was over and above?
I have the list here for both. Trees were a big hit with the group. Here's the list, Mr. Chairman. Trees were a biggie. Housing. People like the small town, the rural atmosphere here. They supported funding affordable housing development, outdoor recreation, improving education here. And that was a big one, especially for our chairman. And we talked about trying to encourage people to move to Waterville and the importance of education in doing that. Is there anything else you?
I think that's very good. Thank you very much. So education, natural resources, recreation, housing, those are kind of the big three.
Excellent. Any other comments? Any comments from the public? Councilor DeBrito.
Not so much a question, but just like it stood right out for me. So I'm looking at the median income of $47,000, like roughly, and it's the lowest in Kennebec County. And when you look at poverty rate in Waterville at 25.4, and that's like double. So what is the difference between Waterville and the other areas that the numbers are coming from, that number is coming up so high?
I can't address that. That is a topic for further study. Yeah, please.
Waterville has a very high percentage of multifamily housing. So we have a lot of housing that is rental that's available to people at lower income. So we attract people for that housing, but also for the job opportunities that are here. And the social services. So social service provision is a high percentage of our employment here in Waterville.
Okay. Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you.
All right. Councilor Finch.
Yeah, I just have a couple comments. I started on this commission as a civilian and then got elected and came on as a counselor. So I've been on it for a while, and I really do just want to say that this document is a reflection of the people on the commission who showed up, did the work. There was a lot of homework, I think, with this commission in terms of taking things home, thinking about them, asking a lot of questions of the city, of the community, taking the feedback from the community and putting it into a format that is compatible with a comprehensive plan, and then I'd also just like to thank you. You put a tremendous amount of work into it from the time that you joined the commission, and I know you were voluntold as chair, but I am very glad that you ended up as the chair of the commission as a recognition of really all the work that you did on this.
Thank you.
Ditto.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, awesome. All right, so yeah, what we're doing tonight is this is to just simply send this to the state. They're going to review it, send back any changes and things like that for the plan, for the comprehensive group plan committee to review and update, and then we'll put it back for final. Yes.
Can I just clarify that with the state to review, the timeline on this might be a year, might be 18 months, might be. We're not talking like they're going to get back to us in a month. Just so everyone is aware of what the going forward timeline is on this.
Excellent. All right. With that, all those in favor?
I actually had a comment.
Okay.
I didn't get to ask.
Raise your hand. Raise your hand.
Yeah, well,
To get recognized.
didn't, yeah? All right. Thank you. There were just two things. I know that this took a long time to prepare, and certain chapters were written much earlier. But I did want to reference two assets that Waterville has, I guess, that I would like to see mentioned in the plan. And one is under economic development, the Dirigo Labs, which is a fairly new entity. And that would be under Chapter 3, page 10. And the other one, or wherever it seems appropriate, but I think it's important to recognize that as an important community and economic development asset. And then also the Waterville has a wealth fund that does provide grants to low-income housing. So in the end, it mentions in Chapter 13 the importance of the city applying for grants for low-income homeowners to improve their buildings, but we actually do have a fund that provides that, as well as funding for new housing. So I would just like to see that included. And thank you so much.
I'll take that as an action to include the Dirigo Labs in Chapter 3, page 10, and then the Wealth Fund mentioned in the housing chapter as well as Chapter 13.
Yeah, just as long as it's in the plan somewhere.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor? Wonderful. All right, moving on to Resolution 44, 2025.
Appointing members to the Impact Task Force.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Any discussion with regard to any of the names that were on there? Any concern? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Okay. Moving on to Resolution 45, 2025.
Approve bid award to Adaptive Media Solutions for the promotion of the Maine International Film Festival.
Move to adopt.
All right. Michael, is this you? Of course it is. How are you, sir?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Hi, Michael Hall, Community Development Specialist for the City of Waterville. This is in response to the special events grant that we won from the Maine Office of Tourism. Pleased to say that we had almost a dozen bids come in from the RFP that we sent out. For Adaptive Media Solutions, this was a proposal that came in with all the others. It was reviewed by myself as well as Sarah Cross over in admin, and ultimately chosen by the head of Maine International Film Festival, Mike Perot, as his preferred proposal. So we look forward to working with them.
Excellent. All right. Any questions from the council?
What was it that stood out about their bid in particular?
Well, one of the major things, especially from Mike, that stood out was the fact that they were complementary to a lot of the strategies that Maine International Film Festival is already utilizing. A lot of the bids that came in that we reviewed, they were actually sort of redundant for what they were already doing. So this is one that actually complemented them. Secondly, it was the fact that they had experience with international marketing. They handled the Bissell account in, I think, 30 different countries, and the fact that they were able to market in French.
Cool. All right. Well, wonderful. All right. Any other questions from Michael? All right. All those, yes. You certainly can.
Wow, it's a first.
I'm just kind of curious when this
can you state
Chestnut
your
Crossroads TV,
Thank
not a
you.
Waterville
Thank you.
resident. When this RFP went out, what local media companies were on that list? because I didn't get an RFP, and I know of 4 right in a 4-town radius from where we're standing. And I'm just kind of curious if any of us in this area got that. I hear this council all the time, and everybody in this area talk about local businesses.
Yeah.
I saw no RFP. So I'm just kind of curious if any of us in this area got that, so.
It's a great question.
Well, the RFP was published on the website and put out. It was sent to our admin to put it out like any other RFP. And we've got at least 2 or 3 companies from this area, as well as a bunch of national companies as well, including international as well, some from Canada, some from California, one from Texas, everywhere else, so.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. All right, moving on to Resolution 46, 2025.
Approve use of funds from the fire department cost recovery account to paint engine 3.
Move to adopt.
All right, Chief, if you want to, I saw you at the edge of the seat. You ready to jump up?
I was.
I love it.
I was. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What we're looking to do is engine 3, which is a 2013 pumper, showing significant signs of corrosion right now. Looking to try to buy us some time with it. It needs some paint. It needs to be undercoated. Randy Marshall, Airport. I don't know if you saw the job he did with our ARF truck, but it is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking to do is have him do somewhat same thing to that. A couple years ago, as you know, engine 2 went out, was gone for like 2.5 years, had a very significant cost, and came back, and I'm pretty sure Randy can do that job also. Our trucks, we've had this discussion numerous times, but our vehicles in this city are running an extraordinary amount of calls. I have to keep these 2 pumpers on the road at all times. A new engine right now is $750 to $1 million and higher. But if we ordered one today, the issue is we wouldn't see it for 2 to 3 years. That's how long build times are on these vehicles now. I got to find a way to keep this thing on the road for now. Randy does a wonderful job, so he will repair any minor surface corrosion, prepare and paint the truck, and also undercoat it for us, and hope that we get a few more years out of this truck.
I have how long, say for instance, you know, it goes to get this job done, how long is that going to take? How long will it take the truck off the road?
Randy said 2 days.
And
2
years.
I don't, Randy.
And do we know what currently the fire department's cost recovery account has? How
Yes.
much do we have in that account?
Christina told me today that we currently have $145,000, $145,483.39. And Randy, 2 months.
And how much time do you anticipate this will buy in terms of service life of the truck?
3 years, maybe 5. But that's really pushing it. So usually fire trucks, once upon a time, they were built to be what they called 20 to 25-year trucks. I do not believe, in my opinion, looking at our call volume and what this truck looks like currently, I believe that our trucks are 15-year trucks. I really do. So if we can, put 10 grand into it, or up to 10 grand, get it undercoated, get it painted, and try to slow down the corrosion, I'm hoping to get another 3 years, maybe upwards of 5, but that's pretty optimistic, but we're going to try our best.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
So this is all to say that in the next year to 2 years, should be anticipating placing an order.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. In my opinion, we should. So fire trucks in my career have just gone out of control. But like anything, I mean, an ambulance right now, a brand new ambulance right now costs about $500,000. That's what we used to buy engines for. So I did some research, called some folks that I have dealt with in the past. Like I said, this truck today, if we ordered it today, would be anywhere from $750,000 to $1 million. They look at about a 20 to 25% increase every year right now. 2027 is going to be significant for us because the new EPA rules come out. And I was told that a Detroit motor, which is what we put in most of our fire trucks, will be $250,000 just to buy the motor. So you can see where the costs have just, they've ballooned. I wish I could change it, but I can't. So that's kind of what we're up against right now. So, you know, I think with Randy's help, and Randy's willing to do this, and I believe it's a big deal that we have this asset in town. Again, I know our off truck, when it came to us, it was yellow and ugly, and
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful right now.
Yeah, it's
And
beautiful.
if Randy's willing to help us do this, I think, you know, we can get a few more years out of this truck. I do believe it's worth it for the city. I really do.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. All right, all those in favor? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, folks.
Resolution 47, 2025.
Approve use of funds from Solar Reserve Fund to Airport Terminal Building Project.
Move to adopt.
All right. Randy, how are you, sir?
Now that the chief's spoken well of me, I guess I can come up. So yeah, essentially, we did the project to do new siding, windows, and doors on the terminal building. We had some unforeseen costs that we ran into, both with the electrical meeting code, as well as some insulation issues. So we had a little bit of an overrun. We also added a couple doors and windows in. So we have the funding in our solar funds. We're looking to cover it with that.
Okay. Any comments, questions from the council? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? All right. Moving on to Resolution 48, 2025.
Approve Airport Terminal Building lease with Airlink Flight School.
Move to adopt.
All right. It's the Randy Show. Boom. Here we
Yeah,
go.
Airlink is the resident flight school. They have been there a number of years. They are downsizing their office just slightly, so you'll see a decrease in that lease. But they still wish to maintain an office and aircraft at the airport.
Any council questions? All right, seeing none. Yes.
So what's the impact of the downsize? Is it just,
Smaller office.
oh, just a small
Yeah, they
office?
had 2 offices. They went down to 1 smaller one.
Okay, so but it doesn't impact the service or anything?
Not at all, no. It's just they weren't utilizing the space,
Mhm.
so we negotiated with them. We have 1 additional space back, which will be used for a pilot's lounge, a smaller pilot's lounge, which is what it used to be used for.
All right, thank you.
Excellent. Very good. All right. All those in favor? Thank you. Resolution 49, 2025.
Approve the Vacation Land Jumps Special Operating Rights Agreement.
Move to adopt.
Any discussion? Randy, you want to guess of this just?
Courtney and Amanda here. Did you guys want to say anything? You good? All right, yep. Vacation Land Jumps in another year coming up for business. They were very active. It's great to be able to go out around town and hear people. I was at a baseball game and they're like, oh my God, there's people falling out of the
I
sky.
say it from my house.
Yeah, so a lot of people who haven't been out to the airport and seen the airport have ventured over to the airport and it's being discussed, which I like. So it's a good thing. Yeah, it's been working very well, so.
You all jumped out of planes? Both of you? that like a prerequisite to working for that?
Even I have done it, Mike, so.
Have you really?
Yeah.
All right, wow.
No thanks.
Pay attention for those job openings, airport. Just saying. No, I'm kidding. All right, very good.
We'll have MD3 standby.
Yeah, MD3, yeah, we're good. All right, great. Can I get all those in favor? Great, thank you very much. Thanks for continuing. That's awesome. I'm glad. All right, you were so quick to sit down. We need one more. Order 50, 2025.
Approve airport land lease, Bel Air Management LLC.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This is for an existing hangar. The past owner passed away last summer. It has been sold and purchased by an individual who does float plane tours and lessons, and they base their aircraft in Waterville. So.
Okay. Excellent. Any questions, comments from the council? Seeing none. All those in favor? Wonderful. Now you can sit down, Randy. Thank you very much. All right, Order 51, 2025.
Authorize a quitclaim deed for 71 Grove Street, map 38, lot 210.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Mr. Lee, good evening. No, you're on mute, sir. You're on mute. You just unmute. Hit the space bar on your. There you go.
Here I am.
Thank you, sir. All right, why don't you kick us off? Why we're here? Just kind of get us where we're at.
Well, for those who didn't read the article on the front page of the paper today, I received a request for the discharge of a tax lien from 61 years ago on a property at 71 Grove Street, and had conversation with the assessor, with the treasurer to see if we had any financial records going back that long to determine why we'd have a tax lien so old. It's been in the same family for ownership for over 60 years, and the taxes have been paid every single year since then. And not surprisingly, the finance office did not have any records. I reached out to the estate of Mr. Spalding, who passed away, I think, about a year and a half ago. And not surprisingly, they had no records from over 60 years ago. I've seen this situation arise on several occasions where taxes were paid, but for one reason or another, a discharge was never issued. And then years go by, then the property goes up for sale, a title search is done, and an old tax lien is found. This one is far and away the oldest that I have seen undischarged, and it was for $139. So there's a buyer for the property. To be able to complete the sale, there has to be a discharge of this tax lien. And what's before you is to, because of its age, it requires a quitclaim deed, a quitclaim release deed, rather than just a discharge. As a condition of granting it, you'll notice in the proposed order, it would require the payment of taxes, any taxes owed up through June 30th of 2025. And the attorney for the estate has agreed to that, and the matter's before you now for your approval.
Thank you very much. Any council comment, questions?
This is my favorite agenda item. Yeah. This is just fascinating. This is like one of those little city government things that, just pop up and you're like, oh, this is like a really cool thing.
Yeah. All right, well, seeing none, all those in favor? All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Moving on to Ordinance 52, 2025.
Amend the zoning map 357 Park Street rezone.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Any councilor comment, concern at this point? Councilor Finch?
Yeah, I want to say that I appreciate that the planning board really took the time to review the site plan, offer their feedback. You know, they spent 2 meetings on interested parties and city leadership to really kind of finalize the site plan. You know, I do have to say, though, that after finalizing a site plan, part of the planning board's job is to find the contract zone and the site plan in compliance with the comprehensive plan, and I disagree with the planning board findings that this process or that this contract zone will preserve the city's historic and archaeological resources. First Church was never in danger of being torn down as a result of not having this contract zone and site plan, and in fact, this plan does destroy 2 historic structures, which is the opposite of preserving them. You know, and additionally, the planning board found that this would promote traffic safety, and in fact, this plan drastically increases parking. And, you know, while they did come up with a one-way parking plan, there is a significant increase in traffic that can now flow directly onto Park Place and come up against the street parking on Park Street. And, you know, I don't know that this really does anything to create a city that is a great place to live or raise a family for the residents of Park Place or residents looking for housing. And this is now the second time that the council has found themselves in a position to agree to tear down housing for the benefit of a private entity. And I was not on the council the first time that happened, but I did caution that it was setting a precedent. And now here we are with the second instance of this happening. And so I'm just not sure how to stop this precedent. And I really hope after this vote, we as a council can come up with a plan that preserves housing instead of destroying it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Council Klepak?
Well, we have interested parties here in the council chambers. I'm not sure whether they want to speak, but I would be interested to hear what the different parties have to say.
With regard to?
The amended zoning map.
Okay. Anyone wish to speak with regard to the amended zoning map?
Good evening, councilors. My name is James Monteleone. I'm an attorney representing First Church. I asked to just present very simply. This site plan is reflective of significant efforts that have to work with council for the city, to work with the planning board, to really adopt a compromise position and avoid some of the future conflict that may arise, and really get to the core and address it. We've worked closely with the planning board and the city engineer to ensure that it's a safe plan, that it accounts for the neighborhood, it accounts for what the neighbors have requested in prior meetings that they need. And in light of that really extensive effort that's happened over an extended period of time, we'd ask that the council adopt it. Thank you.
Scott?
Scott Beal, Ward 6. I'm here as a citizen of Ward 6 and a member of the Housing Committee for a while. I too share concerns about the precedents that's being set. We need more housing in the city, especially housing in the downtown area. And I, as a citizen, was unhappy with what I heard. I thought that there was perhaps more possibilities for thinking outside the box, coming up with different solutions. But from my perspective, the purchaser of the property went in and bought the property knowing that it was zoned for housing there and businesses, and wanting to overturn that previous zoning, and yet never coming and really working to find alternatives for how we could possibly save the housing. So there has been a lot of work. to try to come to some kind of consensus, but it seems like much of the work was one-sided. You know, with the community trying to give up ideas, and the ideas really haven't resulted in any kind of change in the proposal from day one. They wanted to raise the buildings, put in a parking lot downtown. And with regard to the comprehensive plan, part of the comprehensive plan includes support for culture within the community, and the church is a very important part of the community. But the comprehensive plan is also dealing with livability, housing. So, you know, in this case, it seems like trying to build a large church downtown in what was intended to be a residential area where people walk to church, just it doesn't seem like a good fit, and it's causing a lot of problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir.
Raphael Scheck, living right next to the church. I want to thank the city authorities, both the council and the planning board, who spent a lot of time on this. We appreciate this. We appreciate your efforts to push for a compromise. We're really very grateful for that. It looks like this is going to be adopted. It still leaves a bad taste, and I can only echo what Mr. Finch said and what Scott Beal said. It seems like to set a very bad precedent, knowingly buying a property on which there are zoning restrictions with the intent to violate them, and then hiring an outside lawyer and getting away with it. Sounds really disappointing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any councilors' comments? Anyone online, Patty? No. Thank you. Okay. All right, well, this is our first reading. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Okay, so Klepak, Finch, and were you in favor, Councilor Harard? Yes. Thank you. So it was 4 in favor and 2 opposed.
Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Where are we at? We're now at the opportunity for we to waive cloture at this point. We're going up to, okay. All right. So at this point, I need a motion to waive cloture.
Do I have to introduce something to waive cloture, or can we waive cloture? We have to put something on the table, right?
Right, for the discussion of the city manager.
Okay, my laptop froze, so I don't have it in front of me. So I'll let someone else waive cloture with the motion that Sarah sent. Because I can't read it. So.
No, that's fine. No, we have two options, here for us. I think for generalization purposes, I think we should waive cloture to have the discussion to discuss the proposals that we have in front of us.
Yeah, okay, I'll make that motion to waive cloture to discuss the proposals we have in front of us.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right.
Can we vote on the waiver?
We
of
certainly can.
cloture?
All of those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. All right. All right, where do we want to start?
May I ask the point of order?
Point of order, yes.
City Solicitor Lee, what's the requirement for a vote on waiver of cloture? Is it a simple majority? 2/3. Thank you. Thank you.
Good?
Yep.
2/3 of those present.
Yep.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have in front of us, we have two options. At this point, that we can discuss each of them, and if we're happy with those. If we seek more of this, that's up to you. It's up to you all on how we want to proceed at this point. But we do have two options. We do have one from Eaton Peabody, a company that we have used before, and we also have an outline or a proposal from MMA, which outlines their services and things, who we've also used before. So I will open the discussion up to the council. Councilor Green.
So I think we did jump ahead a little bit. I just want to make sure that everyone is in agreement, as I think we are, that we really do need a search firm to do this, conduct the search for us. We're certainly, last time we had a great experience with Eaton Peabody, and that is one of the two options we have before us. So, but I just wanted to hear from any counselors who might disagree with that approach.
I guess that's good, Connor.
Councilor Brito.
Yeah, so it's not the fact that I disagree with the approach. I think for me, it's the process. Last time we did this, we had a completely different process. And I find that this time the process is not the same. We do have new council members. And last time we did sit with Bill Lee before we, it felt like we had a discussion before we went out for bid or anything like that. I feel like right now, we already got 2 bids in, and it feels weird.
Okay, okay.
What would you want us to talk to Bill Lee about?
I guess for me, it was the process. I've been through 2, this is my second time around. So both times we actually had a process. Like all the councils knew what we were going to do. We met with Bill Lee, which explained the process to all of us. And I feel like this time that was not the case. So an hour before the meeting, I get 2 proposals, like an hour before the meeting.
Well, point of clarity, you got one proposal the hour before the meeting, you got the other one on Monday.
Yes, and before Monday, we were just going to wave closure to talk about this, to talk about the process of searching, of the process of going out there for bid. And we did not talk about that. We're already coming in with 2 proposals already.
Yeah, I think that's due to, in the interest of time. I think if there's anyone here that thinks we should, put an ad in the paper and do that instead, we can discuss it. Certainly, I think the intent was simply to jumpstart the process. And so we have the option to put out proposals, a request for proposals. But we'll have to wait a period of time. And we do have the 2 in hand, so I personally think we should go ahead and get the process moving as soon as we can.
And I don't disagree that we should start the process. That is not what I'm disagreeing about. Absolutely not. I'm disagreeing about the process of getting all the councils involved before we move forward. Like I said, I did know about the first proposal. Yes, that was sent to me. But for something to be sent to me an hour before the meeting, it's not appropriate.
So may I ask what your proposed solution is? Do you want to wait 2 weeks before accepting a bid?
No, I think we will go forward. I just wanted to let it know that there's a lot of things happening, and not all councils are being included in it.
Just to clarify, I think we all got those proposals at the same time. But I appreciate that it's been a very quick, a quick process to move forward. Given the time restraints.
Pardon me. Yeah. There are a few key differences in the situation that we're in now. The last time when we were looking for Brian, we had an assistant city manager, and that was very capable and afforded us sort of a longer runway. We do not have the benefit of that situation because the council decided to eliminate that position last year. And, you know, the reality of this executive search firm landscape out there is in the state of Maine, there's Don Garish and Peabody who handle over 3/4 of these kinds of searches in the state. We've worked with him before, that firm before, and very knowledgeable about all the players in the state. There's MMA, which handles the sort of balance of those. A little bit of a different approach to that company. Then there are out-of-state firms, notably one called MRI, based out of Boston, which handles a lot of these kinds of things in the state of New Hampshire. I think the question is, rather than, you know, give it that length of time that an RFP would be, you know, the delay that would cause, simply acknowledging who the players are in the field, and you know, deciding, since you have had that experience, as a number of us on the council, we're familiar with these firms, and while it is true we do have some new counselors on the council, there is a knowledge base and experience base on the council to say, you know, given the options we have, you know, it's really, if we want to go with a firm that is here in the state of Maine, these are the reasonable options. And so in my mind, it does make sense to have a conversation here tonight and move forward on one of these proposals. It's true they came one of them came at a late date, but the contents of these proposals are not actually unknowns to a number of us here on the council. So while I agree with you that the procedural timeline is not ideal, we're also not in particularly ideal circumstances vis-a-vis an assistant city manager, the impending timeline of the current city manager's departure. I think the points you raise are important to keep, to make note of for the future, hopefully a long time in the future. But yeah, I think this is where we are, and personally I'm in support of considering the two proposals that are in front of us tonight. I do think that either of these choices will be able to acquit themselves well for the process. And since I'm still talking, I will throw my 2 cents in with Don Garish. I think that of those two, of the choices in front of us, that that's probably the firm that I'm in favor of.
Yeah. Well, you had that opportunity to, because you were part of the conversation that you guys were having, so you were prepared. So for somebody like me that just found out an hour ago before the meeting, I didn't come prepared to vote for that. So yeah, you have all the information. Like majority of you guys on the council do.
Everybody got the information at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say, I
but there
got it
was-
an hour before the
But
meeting as well.
there was, excuse me, that was talking. There was conversation going between councils, and some of the councils got left out.
What conversations are you referring? I had no conversations with anyone today with regard to the proposal.
I haven't talked to him since last council.
What, yeah.
I'd like to speak as the new counselor that everybody's
Sure.
talking about. Yeah, I kind of agree with Flavia. I don't think the point is that this isn't an urgent matter that we do need to address. However, I feel like I've been being told what's happening as opposed to being asked, like, my thoughts. And we are an equal group of 6 people, and so I think we should have an equal say when it comes to these sorts of decisions, regardless of the fact that this is where we are and this is where we should be. It's important that we're all included.
So I do think there's been a misunderstanding about this process, but, and we may have jumped the gun a little bit. Initially, I believe I sent out an email saying that we would waive cloture to discuss the process for moving forward with the city manager search. And then, to expedite, the mayor and myself just explored possible options that we would have to consider. I didn't think we were going to be deciding tonight, because I didn't think we would have the proposals. But since we have we have our city attorney here, I'd just like him to weigh in on the process and, make sure that we are proceeding according to our ordinances and our practices for seeking proposals.
You are following the ordinances. The question for the council is, does it feel it has sufficient information and sufficient time to make a selection of one of these 2 firms to conduct the search for a new city manager? That's really a council decision.
If I can just have just a few moments. Now, I understand the expedited process. We got a lot, we got a lot of information. Obviously, this is a decision that we need to make. My thought process is in regards to the E&P body. I mean, we've worked with them before. I trust their judgment in regards. They found us Brian. Brian's kind of cool. So, I think that as far as the procedures go, I mean, I kind of roll with the punches here. I think that we are in a position, as Councilor Klepak stated, that we don't have an assistant city manager to lean on. That's my thing. And I also believe that, we, all of us, have a lot of work to do for the citizens of Waterville. So, for me, and how I feel is that E&P body, we use them again, as I said before. And I think that, if we expedite this process through them, they can do all their, due diligence, and we can continue, advocating and working on the behalf of the citizens of Waterville.
And the 2 emails that I sent out were, first, that I said that you need to take a vote or anything. I provided you with information. The resolution on the table is to discuss this. If you choose that was rushed or what, you can table.
Yep.
You can, that's the process to get the information to you to make a decision. If you don't feel as though you can make a decision, then the council then make a motion to table this, and that's fine. But that's where we're at.
Could I propose that we not, I don't think we need to table, well,
I'm just providing options,
no, but let's review what's on the table right now.
Yeah.
What was the motion? Because I know there were 2 that were in the works.
Motion on the table is to review the 2 proposals.
Okay.
Right.
I see. In that case, we would table it. We sort of jumped from the requests to proposals to review them. Yeah.
To
And
discuss
choose.
the proposals.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I'm going to ask do we want to wait 2 more weeks before making a decision? I mean, I certainly don't. I wasn't here the first time around. I read the proposal that we got on Monday. I like the proposal we got on Monday. The process outlined seemed very amenable. You know, and if this is the firm that we worked with last time using this same process, you know, I'd say they did a very good job. You know, I will agree, though, getting something an hour before the meeting and having time to review it that's not enough time to review it. But again, I read what we got on Monday and would have a very hard time being swayed away from the proposal from Monday.
Any other comments, concerns? Councilor Green?
We don't necessarily have to wait 2 weeks, right? We could have a special meeting in between if people feel like they need more time.
Yes.
The only thing I would caution on that is getting everyone's schedules aligned for a special meeting is sometimes challenging, and so there's no absolute guarantee we could find a night that worked for everyone in the interim, but just.
That's a good point.
Well, I mean, at this motion, I'll entertain any motions, or at this point, do we have any
I mean, I
amendments?
really want to leave it up to Councillor DeBritter and Councillor Herard, I guess, who are talking about wanting more time and not having enough time to make a decision.
So I did my research. I contacted who I needed to contact. So I am ready to go ahead and vote today. So I just wanted to bring the point that you sent us something on Monday, like, besides the fact, I'm ready to vote. I just wanted to state that what was done, the process, the way that things were done today was just not procedural. Sending something an hour before the meeting is not acceptable.
Thank you.
Have you had enough time to make a decision?
Yeah, I like I said, like I think I've already said, I don't think I need to say the same thing again. It was just about this whole process. It's been, you know, less than 2 days, and it's a lot, so, yeah.
All right, well, what's the resolution? So all those in favor of moving forward with the proposal from Eaton Peabody?
So I am going forward, but I thought this conversation was to discuss the two that we had.
We don't have a motion on the floor.
We have a motion to
The motion on the floor is just to discuss the two proposals. We don't have a motion to vote for one.
Can we discuss the two proposals? Can we,
we can do whatever you want to do. What would you like to discuss?
no, because I just want the public to know the two proposals that came in.
Yeah, I think
we
that's a good idea, is to go over both the proposals.
Yeah.
My laptop froze. I can't get it back up.
I don't have it.
Perhaps the
Mike,
mayor
do you
could
want to
summarize
review?
them?
What's that?
You-
Okay, hold on, let me find them. Okay, so the Maine Municipal Association, again, what they agree to do is determine qualifications, skills, and experience the council desires in a candidate. They prepare draft jobs advertisements for council to review, determine recruitment platforms to utilize, and an advertising budget, establish a timeline for the search, recruitment, posting candidate, screening, candidate interview process, develop the candidate interview process. They will review and receive all applicant materials, provide a summary of applicants as well as provided for all applicant materials. A discussion of the candidates with the council will be held to determine the need for candidate pre-screening or selection of candidates to move forward in the formal interview process. They will schedule interviews as well as assist in the development of interview questions and partake in the interview process. And they will be able to assist in the negotiation of an employment contract if the council requests.
What is the cost associated?
It was $6,600.
Which I believe is a lower quote than we received from them last time, the last search that they did for us.
Well, that was MMA. I don't recall what we paid MMA when we looked for the city manager from Mike. Yeah, when we moved on from Mike. The Eaton Peabody.
I'm referring to that.
Yeah.
The second one.
Yeah, that was, so last time it was $9,000. This time it is $8,000. And give me a moment to find that information that I sent. Let's see again. All right, proposal, here we go. So their approach is, again, developing an overall recruitment strategy, the process with the mayor and city council, assisting the mayor and the city council in determining the essential skills, experience required for its next city manager, to assist with the issues and challenges that we're facing in Waterville, determine with the mayor and city council the process and timeline that will be used for the search, who will be included in the actual interviews, developing a format that allows citizens and employees to have input in personal characteristics, education, traits, experience the new city manager should possess, preparing draft employment advertisement for review, determining with the mayor and council where and what media to advertise, i.e. nationally, regionally, locally, internet or newspaper, receiving and reviewing all applications, including performing initial investigations of the applicants, preparing information packets on all applicants, and assisting the mayor and city council regarding suitable applicants to interview, scheduling all interviews, assisting with suggested questions, participating in the interviews as an observer. After the mayor and city council have selected their finalists, do complete background checks on top candidates, scheduling second interviews and providing questions if necessary, being able to answer any questions to assist the mayor and city council in the evaluations and selection, assisting in the contract negotiation for the terms of employment with the selected candidate if requested by the mayor and city council. And that was a cost of $8,000. With both of them, there also there's reimbursements for the direct expenses such as mileage, printing, advertising expenses, and things of that nature. So the fees for the services were the $6,600 and the $8,000 respectively. That's all the information that I have.
Well, since these are very similar quotes, I just have to say I very much appreciated the process that we had and the experience we had with Eaton Peabody. I wasn't on the council the previous search when we went with MMA, but my understanding is it was not as smooth. So I would vote for the Eaton Peabody proposal.
Okay, I will motion to table what is currently on the floor, which is well, actually, wait, is everyone done? Are we done discussing?
I would
No,
say
okay.
something else.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anybody else that would say something, but yeah, I would say that I agree with Councilor Green. I think that Eaton Peabody did a great job finding us a city manager that was dynamic, that was able to be a excellent leader for the top-notch team of city employees that we have here. Waterville is very fortunate to have such an excellent group in all of the departments. I'm always impressed by their professionalism, and the city requires an excellent city manager to lead that team. And likewise, this person needs to be able to take advantage of all of the amazing assets that Waterville has. We often talk about the upward trajectory of the city, and that will continue, and we need the right person to continue to oversee that forward momentum. Likewise, this person is going to need to be a partner with a council that is committed to making sure that Waterville continues to be a flourishing, thriving community. Eaton Peabody did a great job last time we saw them on the job, and in balance, my experience with MMA was limited. I came in literally in the middle, the last day, the final vote in that process, so I had much less experience with them personally. But just my taste of the final end of that, I have more confidence currently in Eaton Peabody being able to find the kind of person who will be the right person to pull together all these important assets that the city of Waterville has and be a leader for them.
I would just like to add that his services are very much in demand right now. So I think if we delay, we risk the chance that we lose the opportunity to work with him.
You okay?
So I move that we go forward to a vote, or
Well,
however
we have
you
to,
say that.
Yeah, we have to clear what's on the floor right now, which is the motion to discuss. So I will move to table that indefinitely. The discussion, we have to clear it off the floor, right?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So can I get a? Oh,
We have
so
the public.
Sure.
Nancy Sanford again, Ward 1. In thinking about the city manager that we had as a result of the MMA search, as opposed to Eaton Peabody, I would ask that you go with Eaton Peabody, because they got us Brian. And I think that just shows how competent they are at looking at our needs and responding to them.
Yes, sir.
For what it's worth, real quickly, just, as a candidate going through the process with Eaton Peabody, both coming to Waterville and exiting Waterville, I think the process that Don Garish runs is inclusive of all voices. He runs a pretty good process. His network around the state, as far as just his contacts, his knowledge of the main manager community is probably the most extensive of anyone. So I would just add my endorsement if you're comparing some proposals, that I don't think you can go wrong with Don and Eaton Peabody. And just having gone through the process with him twice, it's pretty professional. So.
Okay, now I'm going to motion to table indefinitely the motion that is currently on the floor. Someone needs to second it, guys.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor? 4. All those opposed to table? 2. Okay, 4-2. Okay.
Okay, and now I will motion to waive cloture and introduce a resolution to accept the proposal for the city manager search consultant. Be it resolved, but, well, does it need to be seconded before I read it, or do I read it and then it gets seconded? Doesn't matter. At some point, I have to read it. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Waterville, acting as the municipal officers as follows. That the City Council accepts the proposal from Eaton Peabody Consulting Group, LLC, to serve as the consultant for the city manager search.
I'll second.
Okay. Any additional discussion with regard to the resolution that's on the table now? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, with that, we have reached the end of our regularly scheduled meeting. We are moving into, and I do need a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
To
Second.
discuss labor negotiations, 1 MRS 4056D. We will not be taking any additional votes after this executive session.
So there was a motion and a second.
Yep.
All in favor?
All in favor to go into executive session?
Thank you.
How you doing, Pat?